A what?
A whoop.
What's a whoop?
Well, actually, a whoop is...
You guys heard of the whoop?
Okay.
Jeez, man. I don't know about people that have double wearables on. Welcome everyone to Spartans Community TV, the podcast edition. So I'm Russell Harrison, CEO of Spartans. I'm going to introduce you to a very good friend of mine and a very special guest today is Shoban Rahula Paskaran.
You got it.
I got it, yes. Welcome, Shoban. So just very quickly, well maybe not quickly, maybe I should spend a bit of time on introducing you. So Shoban is a very good friend of mine. He's a very good friend of Spartans actually. Shoban is the founder of Physio Circle, the Physio Circle. So quite a well-known physio clinic here in Singapore, who have now got three outlets.
Three slash four.
3/4 outlets in Singapore. Shoban's credentials, he's got a qualification in physiotherapy from King's College in London, I believe. He is a PR here in Singapore, been here for...
Now it's year 11.
Year 11.
Yeah.
So he and I are almost head to head. I'm PR here, I've been here for 12 years. Just in terms of how I/Spartans know Shoban, I think it's a really important point, which we'll get to throughout the podcast. I got to know Shoban probably about, I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago.
2015, 2016?
Yeah, around there, 2015, 2016. And at that point, I was still competing in boxing. The training was pretty grueling. And I had gone through a constant process in my life of trying to find chiros and physios who could help me with all of the different things that you have when you've got a heavy training regime, work, etc., etc. And I was never able to find and stick with somebody who could help me with my rehab or maintenance or anything like that. There just wasn't anybody who understood the challenges that I had with training and with work and all the rest of it. And I think in one of our first times I met Shoban, I'm pretty sure I had some kind of an injury or something, and I was in the middle of a training camp, and I went in and I met him and I said, if you tell me to rest, then I probably won't come back. So can you fix me?
Sounds a common theme.
Sounds a common theme, right? So can you fix me so that I can keep going? And he did, and he's been a miracle worker, and I don't say that lightly, with the number of injuries and ailments that I've had over the years. And I've recommended Shoban to, I'm going to say, literally hundreds of people out of our gym. Everybody who now has an injury or they want to sort of optimize their training, if they talk to me about that in the gym or personally, the first thing I do is give them Shoban's number. So, welcome.
Yeah. Practice that, didn't you?
Pardon?
Practice that.
I practiced it. I practiced how to say your surname. I've got to admit, in all of the years that we've known each other,
Yeah.
I've never tried to say it.
That's not fair enough. Most people get it wrong anyway if they practice it.
Yeah, okay, good. So I got it right?
You got it right.
All right, fantastic. So, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Lots happening for you. I know you're very busy at the moment.
Trying to be.
Be. What's got you busy at the moment? Just in a nutshell.
We opened a second clinic a few months ago.
Yep.
So working on that. Got a few new team members. Just getting them up to scratch with how we do things at Physio Circle.
Yep.
And just a few projects along the way with some partners as well.
Just a few little projects here and there.
Little projects.
Got your fingers in lots of pies.
Can't say too much yet.
Okay, all right, nice. So I guess for our reference, but for everybody who's watching, I guess the stuff that we're going to talk about today, don't go anywhere. It's going to be super beneficial. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you can take away from this about obviously physical therapy and the sort of work that Shoban does, and across a number of different sports and modalities. So I think if you need practical tools, I think we're going to talk about that quite a bit today. And you know, we're going to get to know about Shoban's story and how he's ended up where he is today, a successful entrepreneur with multiple physio clinics and a long-time loyal client base. So we're going to discuss all of that sort of stuff. But before we get into that, probably what most people don't know at home is, and I think they should know, is talk to us about rabbits.
Rabbits. What do you want to know?
Well, first of all, people at home are going to be wondering, why the bloody hell am I asking you about rabbits? So I think that's probably the first part.
Okay.
Why am I asking you about rabbits?
I have 2 rabbits.
Right.
Have 3, 2 now.
Oh, okay.
And they run around my home, which I think is what confuses you still. Like how I have rabbits in HDD and how is that normal to have them as pets?
Yep.
They're amazing pets.
Yep.
They're in between. They're similar to cats. You're a cat guy, I'm a rabbit guy.
I'm a reformed dog guy, new cat guy.
I think the right way. Sorry, any dog guys there.
Yeah. No, nothing against the dog people.
We got rabbits maybe 8 years ago now, 7, 8 years ago.
Yep.
So just around the same time as I met you.
Yep.
Yeah, same year actually, we got rabbits. Give and
It's
take.
an omen.
Exactly. Then, so one rabbit turned to another one I adopted, and now we got another one the year after. My wife's put a cap on it.
A cat one? A rabbit cat?
Yeah, a rabbit cat, yeah. We've got a rabbit cat. Because she knows, every time I see one of those ones up for adoption, I'm like, we should take it. Or there's ones that you can foster as well, and I'm like, she goes, we won't return them. Yeah, so I've got rabbits.
Right, 2 rabbits. What is the cat though?
Oh, 2.
2?
Yeah, 2 for now.
Right.
I'm working on it.
Right.
Slowly.
Okay.
But great animals, very intelligent, you know, do their own thing all day.
Yep.
Toilet train, don't chew cables, don't chew wires.
Yep.
No problems at all.
What are their names?
I didn't name them. Had 3. One was called Chip.
Chip.
The one that passed away was Potato. And my youngest one's called Ruffles. So you guys like chip brands, Ruffle potato chips.
Right.
So
that's your wife. So your wife likes potato chips.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I assume so. She doesn't eat it that much anymore, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. So yeah, all of you rabbit people. Fun fact for you. I did actually own 2 rabbits when I was a kid.
How long did they last survive?
They lasted a long time. But this was in Australia, and so we had a yard, and we had a big bird aviary outside, and that's where the rabbits used to live. My sister's one was called Bugs,
Fair enough.
grey,
Yeah.
and mine was called Charlie, black and white.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Want to know a fun fact?
Yeah.
Carrots are not good for rabbits. They actually give them diabetes, high in sugar.
There you go. So
Don't feed your rabbits carrots.
So Bugs Bunny's got a lot to answer for.
Exactly. Also one of the most abandoned pets in Singapore, especially this year because of the Year of the Rabbit. Expected to be one of the most abandoned pets. So if you want rabbits, there's loads of rabbit charities. Reach out to me, I'll link you up with them who are looking for fosterers or adopters as well.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, so people just take them, abandon them in forests, and then they end up dying.
Is that
or
right?
eating poison stuff and just dying.
All right.
Yeah, so the ones in Singapore are very domesticated, they won't survive in the wild.
Yep.
So if you're looking for a rabbit, skip the pet shops, just adopt.
Right. Okay. There you go. So we're doing
That's
our
the most important thing for today from me.
Right. That's the key
That's
takeaway.
that, yeah.
Right. Look after rabbits. There's lots of rabbits to adopt. Perfect.
Exactly.
We're done.
We're done. That's
All
it.
right.
Get that out of the way.
All right. Fantastic. So there you go. You've shown everybody who's watching that you're a sensitive, caring guy who likes small, fluffy animals.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I probably want to start talking about first, mate, is just how you got into what you do, physio. So yeah, wherever you want to start that part of your journey.
I mean, I think it's probably best to go back to when I was about 17.
Yep.
So I don't know what the system is in Oslo here, but we had like after GCSEs, which is O levels, we have AS levels, which is kind of the first year of your A levels. Then from that you apply for university before you do your A levels. So
right.
It was around that time I did alright in school. I'd done alright during that first year. It's pretty average. And it was like, what do I want to do? So definitely out of the question was medicine, which is what my whole family, encouraged me to do.
Yep.
And so my mom, my dad, whatever, but that was out of the question. I didn't have the grades for that. And just looking back, it's not not something I really wanted to do.
Right.
I definitely didn't want to go down engineering or accounts or anything like that. I didn't want to be in an office.
Yeah.
So then I went to open day at King's. Physio seemed alright, it's okay, but the best thing about it, the selling point, free degree.
Free degree.
Free degree.
Why?
Not enough physios in the country.
All right.
Yeah, not enough physios in the country. So the way in the UK it works is I'd say is just get a degree. Any degree that's good, provided you get like a decent uni, and you can go do whatever you want after that. So I thought at 17, 18, I don't know really what I want to do. After physio, if I really want, maybe I want to do post-grad med, maybe I want to be a teacher or get into graduate training or something in the finance sector, whatever. Just get a degree, and I thought, why lump myself with university fees?
Yep.
So free degree is the way forward. So I accidentally fell into physio.
Right.
Didn't really enjoy it for the first 1 or 2 years either.
Right.
I just thought, what is this? Like, it didn't really make sense. I mean, people probably will say that as well when they go see a physio. What is this physio talking about? It doesn't make sense, or let's just tell me to rest, or it's just a rock down or whatever. And some of the things in uni was a bit like that.
Right.
It didn't make too much sense, but it was just getting into the kind of placements in hospitals that really showed actually quite fun.
Yeah.
Actually quite cool. Lots of different things you can do, and it's just you're actually in a setting where you're working with different people every day, different injuries, lots to learn every day. Yeah, and that was it from there.
And were you at that stage? Were you physically active? Were you playing sports and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, at school. So at school, my main sport was basketball. So I used to train and play maybe 5 to 6 days a week.
I did not know that.
Yeah, actually.
If you had have asked me to guess,
I
would have said football.
My school football team was too good. Way too good. Yeah.
Right.
So basketball during the winter and spring. So from the age of 13 to 18, my school was London Independent School Champion, so about 3-4 years in a row. So massive part of my life growing up. And then summer sport was cricket.
Of course.
Yeah, cricket.
Okay.
Not anywhere near the first team in school, but still good to be around the second team and just lots of fun.
Right, we've never had this conversation about cricket.
We
so
it's funny. Yeah.
It is funny because I played cricket in Australia for years at quite a high level. What did you do? Batter, bowler?
Bowl.
Yeah.
Not opening bowler.
Okay.
But my skill set, I'd say, was I would, if you put me in, if it's the innings kind of being destroyed, all bats went out. Put me in, I won't score any runs, but I won't get out.
Oh right.
Yeah, so I had 5 or 6 games where I didn't score any runs, but I wasn't
just not out.
Not out.
Right.
So just let the other guy do what he needs to do and stabilize.
Right.
I think I went 1 game, 60 balls, 0 runs, all blocked. That's it. Yeah, literally.
Wow. Batting for the averages.
Yeah, just letting the other guy build his confidence up, and then literally the next ball I hit out.
Oh really?
Yeah, bowled.
Right.
Yeah, so that's all I could do.
There you go.
Okay. Just 100% effort in the field.
Right. Oh, okay, good. I was a wicket keeper. A wicket keeper batsman, believe it or not.
Okay.
And you could believe it if you know me, because my favourite thing as a wicket keeper that I used to do was sit behind and sledge the batsman.
Fair enough, makes sense.
Right, just talk shit the whole time, and that was my favourite part of it. Yeah.
I think people don't really understand how great a game cricket is here. Right?
Yeah.
Just for the amount of abuse you can give people as well.
Oh, the Aussies are renowned for it, and also the Aussies and the Indians are the ones that really get stuck into it, the sledging.
Right?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we've covered rabbits and cricket. Unexpected.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Great thoughts.
All right, cool. So then you finish your physio degree, and then what did you do first? What was the first sort of professional gig that you had?
So actually, it was come up here. So I didn't actually work in England. The reason being, halfway through, the government realised that they had not enough money to fund all the free physio degrees. So they cut all the jobs by half.
All right.
Yeah, so there was, we could have got jobs, but the situation was probably in a hospital where you're seeing like 50, 60 patients in a ward, or not getting enough supervision or learning that you need. So then Singapore government actually came down to uni and did like careers fair, recruitment day kind of thing. I actually went down just to practice for a practice interview. I thought, why not try a practice interview before doing any real interviews in England. And then I got a second round interview on Zoom, then I got placed at Changi, and I thought, why not? A year in Singapore will probably stand out when I come back compared to a year not locoming or not doing enough physio work.
Yep.
And that's how I ended up in Singapore at Changi Hospital.
Changi Hospital. And how long were you at Changi for?
About about 3 and a bit years.
Right.
Yeah, 3 and a bit years. I did all my kind of rotations there.
Yep.
I'll be open again. I don't think I was a very good physio when I was there.
All right.
Maybe mindset just not there. Just want to go out, have fun. Suddenly getting paid money.
Yeah.
As in, not that I did anything wrong, but just going back now, maybe I would have done it a bit different, you know.
Yeah.
Just learned more from the people there, applied myself a little bit better.
Yeah.
Saw lessons in the past now.
Yeah. The question that I think would be on people's minds, because it's on my mind when you say that, is what does make a good physio in your view?
Now?
Yeah, well, not even just you, like how would you, I know how to define a good boxer or a good salesman, but I've never thought about defining
A good physio?
what's a good physio, yeah.
And if I say now, from my point of view, now after being 10 years in the industry,
Yeah,
I would say generally the skill set of physios in Singapore are very good. Like
Right.
clinically, physios are excellent. Like Singaporean physios, students all that really, really good.
mm-hmm.
I would say what makes an excellent physio now is that kind of empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, really empathy, thinking about putting yourself in the person's shoes, really caring about that person, taking the time to understand their sport, their aims, their goals. I think it's very easy in our line of work just to see the person they come in, injury, done, boom, see you later, next one.
Yeah.
But if you really get into understanding their goals, aims, motivations, really get to know somebody,
Yeah.
that's what will make you a good physio.
Yeah.
Because you will try harder. You will, if you understand someone's goals, aims, whatever they want to achieve,
Yeah.
you know, no matter what, if you're having a bad day, you haven't slept well, the last patient before you ripped you apart,
Yeah.
when the next patient comes in, you won't bring any of that energy and you'll be thinking solely about how can I get this person to do what they want to do. And that's, if you can appreciate that, then I think that'll make you good physio.
And they don't teach that at school, I'm assuming.
I don't think they do. I had to think about it, you know, be
Yeah.
more intentional about what you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And so it's something that we talk to all the physios in our company about, and something I don't really, so when we interview physios at Physio Circle, we don't do a practical assessment.
Alright.
Okay. I don't care about the skill set too much what you come in, because if you've done a few years in hospital or other clinics, your skills are there probably. It's more about your people skills, your empathy skills, how you set up the session, not just looking at them purely as a knee or a shoulder or a back pain, but everything else around that. And more importantly, what kind of person are you? Do you really care about what you do? I don't know, I think it's changing in Singapore. I think people are becoming more around that way. Physios are becoming and thinking like that way.
Yep.
But I'd say generally as a profession, it's a long way to go to reach the levels where I think we should be.
Yeah. But I think, and again, this is not my field of expertise, right? But even in, let's call it the caring professions, right? Whether it's doctors or physios or dentists or psychologists or whatever else. Well, maybe less so for psychologists, but that human touch, that empathy, is quite often the thing that is missing, right? And I guess that's the hardest thing to learn and teach.
I mean, I'd say part of it is because imagine if you're seeing 16 to 20 patients in a hospital, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25, or you're in a full list, you get burnt out.
Yeah.
So by the end, 4, 5 o'clock after that, you just want to go home.
Yeah.
How can you give your best if you're seeing that many patients?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things we said at Physio Circle is if it's money, like high amounts of money you're after, you're probably not the right company for you. Because we try and cap you at 7 to 8 patients per day.
Right.
So that you can really give your best in each session
Yeah.
without that burnout. And what I realized is that it's burnout that leads to people's poor performance, less empathy, and problems between the management and the physios. What's going on? Why is your numbers dropping? Why are your patients not happy?
Yep.
So I realized if you can cap it at 6 to 8 patients, really give them your 100%, then you go off and do whatever you want after that. And so far the physios all, well, I think they're enjoying it, and they all seem to be doing really well. I've worked in places before where you see 10, 12, 14 patients, and you go home and just be shattered.
Yeah.
You can't be bothered, and
Yeah.
you're already dreading going into work the next day. So I think it's finding that balance for if you want to be what you value as a physio.
So without, I guess, jumping into the details of, so there's Changi, and then I know you went into private clinics. What was it that made you decide, okay, I'm going to go out and do my own thing now? Because that's a huge step for any budding entrepreneurs out there. I'm sure super keen to understand what would drive you to want to do that.
I think for physios, anyone in healthcare, we've never done anything business-wise. So that idea when you step into private, you're never thinking about, all right, I'm going to do a couple of years here and go into private, open my own clinic. I think it would be fair to say a lot of physios, a lot of healthcare practitioners definitely suffer from imposter syndrome a little bit, because I feel it too.
Yeah.
I felt it throughout when I first met you guys, when I first met Changi, to throughout clinics that, do I really know what I'm doing? Am I really helping people, etc.? So I think in those first few years, there was no way that idea would come across in my head that I should open a clinic or I should do something just apart from seeing patients, because I don't think I could do it. And then when COVID came by, you just have 2 months sitting at home, no idea what to do. You start looking at considering things, right? I think everybody stepped back and start thinking about what's really important to them, what they want to achieve. I mean, I did it with my wife. We were talking about, we've got a couple months at home now. What do we want to do for the next 5 years? What's the 10 years? And then the idea of a clinic came up, and that's where it kind of sprung up from. A lot of time to think about it.
And I mean, during that time, during COVID, like for us with boxing, we were trying to do online workouts and bring people together and all of this sort of stuff. So, what were you guys doing? Like, other than sitting there and pondering the big picture of life with the missus, what could you physically do for patients?
So, I mean, the big switch that came was kind of telehealth. So everyone started switching on telehealth and saying, hey, we can do physio online. But the thing that sat wrong with me was we've been doing in-house sessions for months and months and years. We've never even considered doing telehealth physiotherapy. Whereas in the fitness line, you do have online classes and stuff, and you have a bit more experience with that versus us. So for me, what I did was I went to the patients that needed it and said, hey, look, I don't know how long this thing's going to last, but we got definitely 4 to 6 weeks before we sit at home. I've got nothing better to do. Government's paying me a bit of money anyway, so I'm okay money-wise. You guys need rehab. Let's do telehealth sessions, but I'm not going to charge you. It's a learning experience for me, it's a learning experience for you. I just need you to feed back to me what's good, what works, what doesn't work, so I can kind of hone this. Then if COVID carries on and we're locked down, at least I've kind of perfected something, a skill that I didn't have, and feedback from patients as well to make it good sessions for them, and then maybe I can start charging for it. The good thing was that we went back to work after like 6 weeks, just to see key patients and stuff like that. But it's a skill set I developed, kind of the online, how to do online session, online assessment. It's completely different because you're not touching the person, you're not seeing them there and there. But even today I've got an online session at 5 with all my patients in London. So it's a skill set that really developed during COVID. And I realized actually we don't need to be face to face all the time. Ideal world, yes. But if someone really needs help and they're away for a couple of months, we can do it.
I think the only thing that I would say to you, which I would disagree with, is that we had no experience either of online fitness there. And fitness overall, just, we've seen the change in fitness businesses over that time. And I think what sort of came out the back of that for us is that now customers expect some kind of digital offering, like, for that hyper personalization. But it probably hasn't, at least for our business anyway, it hasn't become sort of, the be all and end all. The great thing is that people wanted to come back to the gyms and, see their friends and connect with people and punch people and all that kind of stuff. Right? But it's now, like you say, it's a skill set that everybody learns, is now part of the business. Like it's a feature there. But yeah, it really changed the whole dynamic of what people expected from us, rather than what we would need to do on an ongoing basis. So you decide during COVID that this is what you're going to do. You've got a new skill set online. Talk to me about, and I think again this is really interesting because I think about my own experience of doing this. Talk to me about that moment where you decide, okay, we're really doing this. I'm going to get the clinic. We're going to commit to it. Business plans are done. Pull the trigger.
You know what? I don't even think we did a business plan.
Right, so all you budding entrepreneurs at home, don't listen to Shoban.
Because this is what I'm saying. We had no clue.
Right.
Like I honestly, so my business partner is my old colleague and university classmate Naeem.
Yep.
So honestly, I'd say when we first decided to pull the trigger, we just did it.
Right.
I don't think there was a process or system. Which looking back now, 3 years, 2.5, 3 years later, it's like, wow, that was stupid.
Yes and no.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, go on.
We signed a lease on a place and didn't realize there was air conditioners in there. There's no aircon in there.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's the kind of stupid stuff we were doing.
yeah, that would be worth a plan.
Yeah.
But also, I think there is a lesson in that for everybody as well, right? Sometimes you just got to get on and do it.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
No fear.
No fear, exactly. It was, at that point, it was like, okay, we're in, it's all or nothing now. Let's just get it done.
Yep.
And then go from there. We'll figure it out in year one.
Yep.
And we just knew that 6 months was just work.
Yeah.
Just grind, just work. Yeah. It's funny enough, the thing that really helped a lot was during that time, COVID, right? So no football. So that's when I was boxing at Spartans
Yep.
down east. So when I was opening business, I was 3 times a week with like Dan, Kadir, Wenchong was all there.
Yep.
And that really helped with kind of stress and
Yeah.
you know, just letting go of things and just anxiety and fear as well.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. I can personally attest to having taken that sort of leap of faith as well with business, that the anxiety and the stress and pressure is real, right? Like anybody that's going to do this, they need to be really realistic with themselves to know that it ain't no cakewalk.
No, it still isn't. I wouldn't say it is now.
Yeah.
It's not as fun as it looks.
Yes.
Social media only sees the good stuff, the fun stuff, things like this.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of stress that goes into it still even now.
Yeah. But I agree with you, and this is something that we'll talk about, how it relates to physio and all, but you know, you touched on it, so I want to talk about it. Similarly for me, right, with the boxing gym now, I need to box 4 or 5 days a week just to hit something. It's great for stress relief and in terms of me and being at my best mentally. I can't do without boxing or a walk or a run, something. So you make a good point. If people box, then that's a great outlet. If it's football, but I'm a huge advocate for there's got to be some physical movement in order for you to be able to deal with all of the stress and pressures of life, right? Yeah. You said something else then as well, which was, you don't look back, you just commit to it.
Yeah.
I had a fantastic piece of advice from a friend of mine years ago, Dan Mount Stephen, who was a member at one of our gyms, and we were talking about trying to do this with Spartans. And I was like, this is when I still have my day job. And he said, burn the boats, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just burn the boats, right? Once the boats are burnt, you got no choice.
You got to do it.
Right, you got to do it. But do it and know whether or not there's air conditioning in the place. Right?
It's a minor thing. I mean, it was like, okay, crap, we have to pay another 5 to 10k in aircons.
Yeah.
Just pull out some extra money from under the couch or something. Yeah.
And so you and your business partner, you're like, all right, we're going to do this. What was it, or what was sort of the concept of Physio Circle that would set you apart from all the other clinics that were around?
Actually, it goes back to COVID again.
Yeah.
So when we came back from COVID at my previous clinic, we adopted this kind of style of split working. So it's like morning shift 8 to 2 p.m, afternoon shift 2 to 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized at that point I'm getting better sleep. I'm enjoying spending my time at work with my patients. I'm not burnt out. All my notes are done. All my follow-ups are done. I've got enough time to even do in-between care with my patients, like check up on them WhatsApp, phone calls, sending them exercise videos, maybe even changing the exercise in between sessions.
Yeah.
My outcomes for my patients were better.
Yeah.
They were better. They were improving. They're getting back to the sports more. They're enjoying their sessions.
Yeah.
I was going home feeling great. But then I realized was that it's not my own business, and it's very likely that we're going to have to go back to that kind of work shift again that we did before. And I realized that I'm going to get burnt out again, and I'm not going to enjoy doing this. If you asked me, I would have said when I started my career, I gave myself 10 years as a physio, and then I'll move into kind of like public health or health management or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel like it was sustainable at that point, just being burnt out like that.
Yeah.
But then with this changing shift patterns, and I thought, okay, why don't we try and put that into a clinic practice? Because what I felt was that it put patients and physios prioritized over money, profits, anything else. And then the idea in my head was if they're doing their best and patients are doing their best, the profit will come anyway.
Yeah.
One way or another, it will come. So what I wanted to focus on was the whole idea of the environment, the whole kind of ecosystem for create an ecosystem that the physios, the patients can come in and they feel good to work. You know, they're excited to come into work, they feel energized, and that's the whole idea of TPC. I fortunately had people I can talk to from business. I mean, I spoke to you a few times about it as well. I've got a friend who's into branding and design who helped set up the whole brand and design for us as well. And then people like I've got a friend called Raj who owns the Cage, which I think is the home football in Singapore. So just different people I've spoken to, and they all said the same thing. Like, once you do your own business, you can do what you want to do and you put it in. And the thing that actually stood out to me was there's no one else to learn. You make mistakes, it's on you. And if your company's not doing well, it's on you. If your physios are struggling, you have the ability to help them. If your patients are not getting what they need, you need to change it in your own company. So I wanted that. I didn't want to come home and blame my manager or my boss or the environment or situation anymore. If anybody, the only thing I can blame is myself now. And that's what I wanted.
Yeah. The harsh reality of running a business, but also the incredibly liberating feeling of being able to fix what needs to be fixed. It can be all fixed. Change what needs to be changed or ignore what it needs to be ignored. So I know you because through sport, right? That's what I know you as a therapist for. You've helped me with many things. My feet, most recently, which my wife would love to just take a dig at my feet all the time. They're horrible. I've got horrible feet. They're better. They're not as good as what they were when I was in the peak of seeing you. So I know you through helping with sports and also with a bunch of our athletes. My wife has come to see you. Quite a few of the boys from the gyms and the national team come to see you. Sports. But obviously that's not all you do, right? So what percentage of your client base is from sports and what's from surgery and rehab and all the rest of it?
I mean, I would say, pure athletes, pure sports, but at a high level, maybe 20-30%.
Right.
And then we have our kind of amateur day-to-day sports, weekend warriors. A lot of the surgeries end up being because of a sport. You torn your ACL, you torn your meniscus. I tend to see a lot of kind of knees and ankles, a little bit of shoulders. I'd say that's my area, and then predominantly a mix of kind of footballers and boxers. I do have some of my older patients who've been with me for years, 6-7 years, different injuries, and they're like over 60. Ask them to see somebody else, and they're like, no. So, they're just staying with me still.
That's going to be me when I'm 60.
Exactly. I'm still physio at that age. So that's probably my 10%. Those are kind of like my amas and aunties that I still see, stuff like that.
And so you do a lot of work with football. You're tied up with one of the clubs here, right?
So how so we've been working with them for this is the second season now. So we provide the kind of physio support. So they're injured boys come to the clinic for rehab. We work with the kind of sports trainer and one of the physios there at the club as well. Work with return to sports staff, and then we're there on game days to help assess and on-site pitch assessments too. So great experience. It's the first time I stepped out of the clinic and did a physio and realized got loads to learn still. It's just been amazing because after 10 years, what I've learned in the last 1 or 2 years is it's just if you stop learning, you just start regressing. And then this has helped me hone in on that, and my skill set I feel has developed a lot more as well now.
Yeah, awesome. And so then obviously you work with a lot of boxers as well. I want to talk about that. And to help some of our audience who are boxers. But before I do that, and I will probably feel personally attacked if you name any names. Who is...
you're going to make me name names.
not by name, but of the two disciplines, footballers or boxers, who are the bigger sooks on the therapy table? Don't name names.
I'm not gonna name names. You know what? I can't. I'll tell you about both
Go on.
professions.
Yeah.
If you tell them to stop playing, they don't want to do it. Or training, yeah.
Yep.
And the only time I will tell someone to really stop playing or training, or at least if I can modify it, is if I know they're going to really, really injure themselves further, or it's going to be a longer time out. I'm going to say it's the boxers.
Thought so.
I'm going to say it's the boxers.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. Big
I'm
softies.
not gonna. I mean, big. I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah.
So the reason I'm smirking is because I know lots of the boxers that go and see Shoban. I'm one of them. Shoban has a habit of telling all of the boxers that I personally am the biggest sook.
I think
As
it's
all
all
of-
of them to hear that their boss, is like them as well. I'm just doing you a favor.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel that that's the spirit in which you do it. I feel that they all like to tell me, Shoban told me.
You know when you're like treating somebody and they're like not enjoying it. If you tell them, hey, your boss doesn't enjoy it either, they're like, oh,
Right.
I can do this.
Yeah, no, I'm not buying it. Okay, so let's talk about boxers for a minute. I've come to see you for multiple elbows, back,
Yeah.
ankles, feet,
Shoulder.
the list goes on and on and on. That's my list.
Yeah.
What are the most common things that you see with boxers?
I mean, if I just take away, extrapolate the kind of patients I've seen in the last few years,
Yeah.
let's say tendon-related stuff. So it could be stuff like the rotator cuff tendons, the Achilles tendons, which tend to be kind of overload issues.
Yep.
And the tendon is like irritated in a cycle of being overloaded.
Yep.
Back, neck. I've had a few patients from that, just training a lot.
Yep.
If you look at the kind of posture that boxers are in, you might get caught up in that slightly flexed position.
Yep.
Then if you're going out and sitting in a day job all day as well, and just compounding on top of that. And then we've seen stuff like knees, ankles, rolling your ankles or irritating your ankles and knees as well.
Yep.
Actually, to be fair, as a sport, you could injure a lot of things in boxing.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah.
with every sport, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How does, like you say, that's with every sport, and one of the challenges that I have or that we have is to educate people about boxing as a sport, right?
Yeah.
So if someone's never done boxing before and they want to put their kid into it, or they're a boxing casual, their first question is, am I going to get brain damage, right? Is my kid going to get some kind of injury to the head or the face? And unless you get to really high levels, professional or high level amateurs, and you're doing a lot of sparring, that typically isn't the case. You're more likely to see other injuries.
Exactly.
But how does the injury rate for boxing compare to other sports? Is it high?
Actually,
Or-
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that compared to something like football.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're a casual boxer going to a boxing gym, in a more controlled environment, it's relatively safe.
Yeah.
You're not going to pick up injuries unless suddenly you increase your training load from nothing to like every day, or you're really pushing yourself without having trained before.
Yep.
Or unlucky, but I'd say something like football or any contact sports. It's a lot more easier to pick up injuries because you're contact side to side. You also think that, if you think about it, most people don't go into boxing and start fighting.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody who hasn't played football, will just go in and play
Yeah.
5-side or 7-side or whatever the sports, and then it's like body contact. Suddenly they haven't trained, roll their ankles, roll their knee, whatever it is, pull something. Whereas I find in boxing, because in your head it's a combat sport, you want to ease yourself into it. People are a bit more cautious and slowly build up.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that. I don't think we've ever had a new person, like a new member come in.
Yeah.
Someone who's new. It's more they've got into boxing, they want to train more, they're pushing themselves more, and that's when injury stuff to happen.
Yeah.
So it's not because of bad technique or anything like that. I would say it's perhaps the training load is wrong, or suddenly increase the training load and not looking at recovery factors or cross training or something else.
Yeah.
Which is the interesting thing, because for that 1 or 2 years I did boxing,
Yeah.
I didn't get injured. And I came back to football, rolled my ankle, pulled my hamstring, pulled my quads.
Yeah.
Silly, right? I mean, I should know better, but just comparing it now after you asked that question, it's interesting.
Yeah, and it is really interesting. One of the things that I have always found most interesting when I come and see you. And so if ever you're a fly on the wall and someone is in the gym talking to me and I say, go and see Shoban, and this is the reason why you should go and see him. This is the thing. I've had injuries before where I thought that it was my shoulder, and in actual fact it's my bicep, or it's my hip, in actual fact it's my ankle, and the mechanics are wrong. So I've found that's different when I've seen you compared to others who I've seen previous years before.
Okay.
That is almost like you've shown me a magic trick or shown me how to make fire for the first time.
Okay.
Is that like when people come in and you say, well, actually that hip injury is from your ankle, are people usually knowledgeable about that stuff? Or then
I think first time around, no. So if you just say, okay, you got hip pains because of your ankle, people will go away and be like, nah, it's rubbish.
Yeah.
But if you spend the time to kind of explain why it's because of the ankle's stiff, perhaps your knees working harder, perhaps your hips working harder, or if you're lacking range in your hip, is there more stress on the knees and ankles, or your lower back, whatever. If your hips are tight, your lower back's working hard to try and create mobility. So a lot of the time it's trying to find the source of the pain as well, but really explaining to the person why. I think the physios that we have really try and hone in and explain that to where the patient is coming in. I think the other thing is looking recently, I would say recently, maybe in the last couple of years, we started as a profession, I think, and definitely in the clinic looking at kind of more ecosystems of health. Things that your day to day, because if you think about it, you come to physio once a week, what's that, 0.5% of your week? Is that really going to solve your problem? And then you do some exercises.
Most of the people don't do it.
Exactly. Not everyone. So if you see us like once a week, once every 2 weeks, if you don't do the things outside of that, which is of course the rehab, but if you don't intentionally look at your kind of lifestyle, I mean, we were talking about sleep earlier before this as well. If you're not getting sleep and recovery and you're training, boxing 5 times a week, running on top of that, doing S&C as well, then you're gonna get injured definitely. If your diet isn't right, your hydration isn't right, even stuff like stress levels isn't right, and you need to start thinking intentionally more about your injury as your health journey. Because if you can correct certain things that are wrong, the likelihood of getting injured becomes less and less. I think the biggest part we have to play is we want to become obsolete as a profession for that person. We don't want them to keep coming back. That's not our business model. We want them to tell all their friends. That's how we see patients. The idea is they should be equipped with the skills and knowledge to improve that health ecosystem to kind of minimize that risk of injury. Which is, I think, we're slowly getting there. We're slowly trying that approach.
And one other thing that I want to touch on, because again, this is one of the powerful things that and when I recommend a lot of people to you, it's for this reason. I know you're not anti-surgery. I know that there's always a place for that, but I think a lot of people who I know, just anecdotally through the gym or whatever, have an injury and they go and see a doctor and then they come in and they're like, I gotta have surgery. And I'm like, wait, before you do that, go and see Shoban, because I know you've had like countless patients who thought that they needed to and then they didn't. So just talk to me a little bit about your philosophy on surgery and how you can maybe help people avoid it.
I think you hit it quite right on the point. Sometimes surgery is needed, but I think there's always a place to try conservative treatment first. At least, by conservative I mean physio, rehab, modifying your training, modifying your lifestyle, and see how that goes. Because at the very end of the day, even if you do end up needing to have surgery, you'll put yourself in a better position, strength-wise, mentality-wise as well, to have better outcomes after the surgery too. We work very closely with only a few doctors who kind of are conservative pro-physio first before doing surgery. And it's these kind of conversations that has actually given us the confidence to say, let's try rehab first, let's try physio first. But there are sometimes, the MRI report or the injury itself shows that, look, we could do physio, but the likelihood is that you need to do surgery. But we still, for someone who needs to do any surgery, we would still recommend 4 to 6 weeks of prehab first. Get the knee ready, calm down, muscles all working well before you even consider surgery first. I would say if it's affecting your lifestyle to the point that you can't do anything day to day, then perhaps we might need to consider that it's more than what physio can do. But what I like to do is try and do a few sessions first, see how the results come from there. If there are any changes, and if the changes are not good enough, or not best, not as well as we want it to be, that's when we get a surgeon's input.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to lay that out in the first session.
Mm.
And tell the patient, tell the athlete that 3 to 4 sessions, we don't see this. We need to go and get an input from a doctor. We might be missing something that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get one of my colleagues to look at it because we all have different skill sets, and there's no shame in asking your team for help.
Yeah.
They might spot something that I haven't spotted, and that's what we want to create kind of a system of trust between the physios, doctors, whoever, try and get the best person to help that patient or athlete.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, so from rabbits to avoiding surgery where you can, to football and boxing and everything in between. It's been an interesting chat, mate. Thanks for taking the time. People can find Physio Circle at Grid.
Where we
got.
And then we're at Upper Serangoon as well. As well as the Cage in Kallang. And a satellite clinic at Speed Fitness in Bukit Timah.
Right, fantastic. And they can find you on your socials, which is...
so Instagram, Physio Circle, is just physiocircle.sg.
Okay, perfect. Just want to say a huge thanks to Shoban. Hopefully the information that he's given you about, don't forget, adopt a rabbit if you're going to get a rabbit.
Exactly.
I think that was the key takeaway from all of this, right? Keep an eye out for upcoming Spartans Community TV podcasts. We're making a commitment to get interesting people from all walks of life, whether they be people who are involved in sports and business, such as Shoban. We'll have some athletes. There's stuff on previous episode about Spartans Mind, if you haven't had a chance to check that one out yet. We look forward to seeing people on future podcasts and also around any of the Spartans gyms, whether it be in Singapore or the Middle East or anywhere else around the region. Thanks again, mate.
Cheers. Thanks for having us, guys. Cheers.